Hi, good morning. We in India always must be wondering that despite such a huge talent available within us, whenever an Indian goes abroad, offshore, somewhere, he always succeeds. Even in difficult situations in India, we keep developing new ideas, make successes out of apparent failures. So we all must be wondering as a society, as a country, why don't you realize our true potential? If we did have potential, obviously there is nothing much can be done. If student is failing in classes and he is not a good student, his parents will understand. He is a very bright student but failing in class, there is something wrong. And therefore, we as a country are now destined to realize our true potential in a shortest possible time. I think history is going to repeat itself, as they always said. And now it looks like a history will also repeat in case of India, to make India is one of the largest economies of the world. We were always been second before the industrial revolution, first industrial revolution, and now it's a time that we'll realize that potential again. Very soon, even if you take the today's rate of growth, India will be 5 trillion in the matter of next 7-8 years, and certainly 10 trillion by 2035. And that's based on today's rate of growth. And I'll come to it how that rate will be accelerated. And just imagine, when we become 10 trillion, it is inevitable that we'll march towards becoming what we always were before the industrial revolution. To make that happen, it just will happen automatically because of the force of circumstance, the capabilities, but also needs strategy. And I'm very happy to say that while we work on 10, we already prepared a detailed strategy for $5 trillion economy. At 20% of that, $1 trillion will come from industry. $3 trillion, 60% will come from services, and $1 trillion will come from agriculture. On industry, manufacturing, our share has been 16% or so, which we like to take it to 20% and eventually 25%. And actually speaking, people sometimes wonder whether we lost on manufacturing. It's the time to manufacture in India. Because globally, it will be the right time because we'll be part of global supply chains, global value chains, and we'll actually be able to do that. And to make that, we already prepared a plan as to which one of those 1 trillion will come from which of the sectors and which of the segment in consultation with the industry. I'll give full example, something which we never thought of. India, as a railway minister, had invited GE and Alstom to make high-quality locomotives in India. And they are one of the best in the world in environmental standard, economy, and all other areas. And will be actually started manufacturing that in Bihar already. We already prepared, and today as I speak, 2nd of December, today we have started online registration for making or flying drones in India. And we already got a policy to make drones in India. We would need 1,000 aircrafts in India in the matter of next few years because India is the largest, fastest growing aviation market in the world, growing at 20%. So we'll need 1,000 aeroplanes. Already preparing a roadmap as to how we'll manufacture those aircrafts in India. Assemble in India. It will happen over a period of time. So while we do the traditional manufacturing, we are already thinking of making manufacturing of something which we never could imagine. And that is what we are doing, for which we have prepared an industrial policy. First, only third time that India would be making industrial policy. First was in 1956, when we were under ideological burden. 1992, when we are forced to do it because India was almost under the default for foreign exchange and foreign exchange crisis were there. So first time we are preparing a policy to promote industry. This is only for industry. And that policy is not only policy will be made, I will announce it when a detailed action plan of its implementation will also be made in the next few weeks' time. So this is something which we are doing on industry. On services, we already identified 12 champion sector services where not only will grow domestically, but we have ability to integrate with global supply chains. And therefore, this is another great opportunity of making $3 trillion services, and services, as you know, will create more jobs than even any other sector. On agriculture, a very detailed plan is made to double farmers' income, but more importantly, that's the Prime Minister's vision and mission. But while we do that, we also in the next few days will announce the first ever agriculture export policy to export food from India, export agriculture products from India, export horticulture products from India. And that would have a huge back-ended benefit of farmers also benefiting from it. While we do all this, there is a tremendous opportunity to India now to get into a high end of not only manufacturing and services, technology as well. And therefore, a large technology development programs in association with many others is already under work. I'm happy to say that the changing global scenario, geopolitics and geoeconomics changing at a rate at which nobody could imagine, India has a great advantage of now taking advantage of all this, and therefore we are preparing how to integrate into the global markets. We have already prepared a plan for each geography and each territory. How can we sell and what products will sell there? And this is again an increasing India's share into global trade. And this export strategy is already under implementation in many forms. One, as I said, through this market research. Secondly, making bilateral agreements as well as multilaterally. India needs WTO, developing countries need WTO, world needs WTO. So we are working on a strategy how to make WTO better. We organized in India on 19th and 20th of March, 53 countries participated in a mini-ministerial to ensure that we provide the leadership which is requisite to make WTO function better. While we do this, we are already in the process of making regional cooperation and economic partnership RCEP, which will be almost half of the humanity, almost 42% of global GDP will be integrated into one market. India has a tremendous advantage of taking advantage of multilateral and bilateral trade, for which to ensure that our industry also doesn't suffer, first time we are creating new template wherein two independent organizations which will be looking at all industries concerned as well as preparing strategy as to how do we take advantage of opening of new market, getting new market access. So we are working on each of these areas in a very aggressive way. Quality, and as I was saying, technology, and that's a different issue altogether, but I'm just giving an example of technology benefiting the people. As a railway minister, I remember, we started using technology on a massive scale for helping people to solve their problem while they're still on the train. And this never happened anywhere before because only 8 billion people traveled by railways last year, which is more than global population. And just imagine the people who are traveling, mainly Indians, would like to make as a right 4 or 5 complaints every time he travels. So therefore, just imagine the complaint that we used to receive, we started addressing them on a real-time basis while you are on plane. This is a use of technology and many forms. We started giving free Wi-Fi to people. Of course, because of that, more complaints came because Wi-Fi is all available. But now we made sure that all of this, now in airlines, we are using Digi Yatra for the very high-ended technology, probably one of the first in the world, wherein your facial, capturing facial features, you'll be able to travel throughout without even using any paper or anything else. So this is what the technology will be used in an aggressive way in the world, and this is what we are starting already. And this will be unveiled anytime. So we are using quality of life of people is very important. So Prime Minister's another idea of making ease of living as a criteria. And I was saying, while we grow, we'll have many advantages. One is investment in infrastructure, which is rising rapidly. And in fact, I will tell you, the railways, we prepared $144 billion when I presented the budget. And that is under implementation. In the aviation, 100 new airports with $65 billion of investment will be there in India very soon. While we do all this and we increase the expenditure, what is important is infrastructure and logistics are two different things. Logistics is different than infrastructure. We need infrastructure, but that does not necessarily mean we have a logistic in place. And to integrate that, first time We are preparing an integrated logistic plan to make that happen. And this again will be able to bring in a new dynamism into the entire process. While we do all this is the hardware, infrastructure, logistic. The software part, and I will just tell you, I'm looking at the time, that something which we are doing, ease of doing business has improved. But first time in the world, we are doing something different. We are trying to use ease of doing business for every district of India. How do you make ease of doing business new parameters? So even World Bank would like to learn from and work with us. And we have already started working on it. Another interesting thing is 6 districts. Of all the districts, we are taken on pilot basis in 5 states, where we are working on how do you make sure that every district GDP increases by 3% more than normal. Therefore, we have prepared baseline studies already. And if all the districts GDP increases by 3% more than normal, you can imagine what would be India's GDP. So when I was talking about India's time has come, it will be not only at macro level, not just because we are working on some of the ideas that are necessary to be integrating into the global economy, but also by bottoms-up approach, where people will benefit. We always talked about India growing, world growing, but are people benefiting? This is one way to ensure that every district, when you try to make sure that every person in that district benefits, automatically that's the inclusive growth. That's how the development should be. And when every farmer, every service provider, every manufacturer of a small business, he starts earning more than normal, would that not spin off another round of growth in India? And therefore, this strategy is all comprehensive, all inclusive, forward-looking, at the same time ensuring that our grounded into reality of today and as well as its futuristic. So I think we are really on the march of doing that, and soon you will discover that we have realized our true potential, and the true potential lies with the people themselves. Only making sure that people-centric, people-driven growth is that's what India needs, and that's what we are working on. Our job is to be a facilitator to make sure it happens, and the government will try to do that by way of ease of doing business, which I mentioned. These are all the softwares, along with the hardware of infrastructure and logistics. I think we'll be able to definitely make sure that we realize the true potential. So I can very clearly see that we are on way to realizing this, but at the same time making sure that we work on all aspects. One area I'll just mention is the startup. The startup is going to be the new driver of growth, new driver of innovation, new solution provider, new economic activity creator. And therefore, we have already got more than 20,000 startups. In fact, on the 7th, next few days, when you are free from TEDx talk, would like to relax, you can come to go on the 7th. More than 400 funds have been invited to ensure that they provide necessary capital that a startup needs. And in India, everybody is a startup. Because when he gets up in the morning to go reach office, he has to also encounter so many difficulties and so many issues. So I think startup is a new idea which will guarantee that we succeed in many areas, and therefore we are focusing on startup. Startups are the maximum job creators. Startups are the ones who provide solution to many problems, and therefore we are really working on it. I really look forward to that happening. All the best to you. All of you will be responsible for this growth. We'll be only the facilitator. So I wish you all the best for your own success. All the best to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's good. I bet he doesn't pay a toll on the Bandarworlies.